Welcome to the Intercut podcast, the weekly show going over the TV, movies, and entertainment that people can't cut away from. I am your co-host, Zachary Shevich, and joining me, he sent Nick Fury to voicemail. It's Arturo Zurita.
That makes absolutely no sense in the trailer, and I think you said we are going to be talking about the trailer in a little bit.
We will be.
Sadly, our original selves couldn't be here. This is the multiverse versions of ourselves, which may have angered a couple of fans, but I'm excited to be here, Zach. In a couple of weeks, we're going to have a brand new... I mean, you have a brand new environment right now, which I don't know if you want to talk about that this week or was it next week? I don't know when the movie comes out.
I mentioned it last week, but I don't know if that's going to stay in the final cut. I'm at my parents' place taking care of the dog.
He's got a whole story. I think we'll save it for next week. But he's got a whole entire crazy story that should be added to the Dog Cinematic Universe that's coming out with A Long Way Home and whatever the other ones are.
Dog's Journey.
Yeah, 2 dog movies in 1 year. Zach, I guess, is living it in real life. He's got the RPG going, the ARG going on at the moment. But yeah, you have a new place. I'm going to have a completely new spot in 2 weeks. So a lot of big changes happening here. A lot of goodbyes in our world of media, and I guess in our real world too.
Yeah, we're closing the book on one chapter and opening up a new one on this week's Intercut. In a little bit, we'll talk about the Cannes Film Festival, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Game of Thrones. But first, make sure you're subscribed to the Intercut podcast, either the video feed on youtube.com/intercutpod or the audio podcast available on most podcatchers. Also, follow Intercut on social media. Whether it's Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, we are at Intercut Pod. That's at Intercut POD. That's short for podcast.
It is.
Art, let's start the show the way we start it every week with what we are watching. What you been watching, buddy?
I got 2 things right here. 3 things, actually. And they're all my recommendations of the week. So I'm going to start at beginning at the end. I am Iron Man. My first one is Anthony Jeselnik's new comedy special. I've been watching a lot of comedy on Netflix. That's been my go-to to just be able to listen to it, especially because I've been on the road a lot. Have you listened to Anthony Jeselnik?
I have. I haven't heard the new one. The new one's on Netflix, right?
First and foremost, are you a fan?
Yeah. He's
okay.
He's got devastating one-liners.
Insane.
Yeah.
Crazy, to put it. The new one is called Fire at the Maternity Ward. Alina actually got me tickets. We went to go see this one live. And he's got a whole video out there. It was really interesting about his set joke list and how some jokes work in certain places, and how when we saw him on May 11th, half those jokes, a quarter of those jokes got cut out to when he finally had the cameras for Netflix when he filmed it in New York. So it's interesting to see how jokes change. It's interesting to see which ones last, which ones don't, which ones he wanted to keep. But I also think it depends where you say jokes. There's more liberal jokes you can make up in the North than you do if you're, in Alabama or in Texas. So that's kind of interesting to see the behind the scenes of how a comedian works.
You gotta know your crowd.
Yeah, and the craft, just seeing how the craft works is super intriguing. But if you have never seen an Anthony Jeselnik show, I think just watch the newest one. Just watch the first joke that he does. He literally will tell you when that joke ends, and he tells you, you're either in here or you're not. I apologize in advance if it's not for you. You're welcome if it is. He's one of my favorite comedians out there. He is, I would say, in the same level of Dave Chappelle. Not worldwide known, but in terms of craft. Dave Chappelle and Anthony Jeselnik come out and are not making jokes just to make you laugh. They are so good at their craft. They're having fun. They're putting obstacles. Remember when Dave Chappelle's like, here's my punchline. I don't know how I'm going to get there. I really don't know how I'm going to get there. I'm doing this live. That's how good I am at what I'm doing. He does the same thing.
Yeah, when a stand-up comic is particularly great, I think what you see is they kind of abandon the traditional set-up joke format and kind of get more fun from seeing where they can push the audience and where they can push the show.
He shoves.
Can I say the same joke for 15 minutes and
the ending? Yep.
So I think, people like Dave Chappelle, people like Anthony Jeselnik, it's fun to see them working because they are the masters of their craft. Dave Chappelle, coincidentally enough, was awarded the Mark Twain Award.
I think got nominated. I'm not sure what it was. Okay. Or maybe he did win it. That's still insane in and of itself. Yeah. It's crazy. So I definitely recommend Anthony Jeselnik's, both of his stand-ups. You can even listen to them on Spotify and Apple Music, iTunes. They're there to stream, which is really cool. But watch the newest one, just the beginning. I personally prefer the other one. He's got 2 on Netflix. I personally prefer the older one. Another show and I feel you may have watched it. A little spin-off, Zach. An animated spin-off, Zach. Can you guess it?
Tuca and Bertie?
Have you watched it?
I've watched the first half of it at least, yeah.
Well, I watched the first half of the first episode.
No, it's like 6 episodes I think I've got through so far.
Well, what do you think?
Yeah.
You talk about it first.
So, you mentioned it as a spin-off. I don't know if I'd call it a spin-off. It's definitely
I would call it
like,
a spin-off.
It's set in a similar like visual world as BoJack Horseman.
It's BoJack Horseman's world.
But I don't think it has the same cynical edge that BoJack does.
Because it's not BoJack. We're not following BoJack.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I just don't think we're going to see BoJack and Tuca cross paths.
Oh, I wouldn't want them to. If they do, that would be cool, though. But I wouldn't want them at all. It's kind of like an MCU type of thing, where an Iron Man movie feels completely different to a Guardians of the Galaxy type movie.
Yeah, I'm willing to go with you there.
What do you think?
So, yeah, I think it's really fun. You know, I think it's got a really quirky edge to the humor. This is from Lisa Hannawalt. So she is the person who's in charge of the artistic design on BoJack Horseman, but she's not one of the writers of BoJack Horseman. So it does sort of have a different perspective, and I think because she comes from a more artistic background, the show is more visually inventive. It's the backgrounds are constantly changing. Sometimes the animation styles are changing. It feels like an artist's show. And that's one of the things I really love about it is just how much they pack into the different frames, all the little jokes that are in it. It's a lot of the subtlety that we really love seeing in the background of BoJack Horseman, I think is more emphasized in this show. And then I think it has a really fun dynamic. The main characters are voiced by Tiffany Haddish and Ali Wong, two comedians that I think are particularly hysterical, and they're fun riffing off of one another. I don't know if I appreciate it quite on the same level as BoJack Horseman, but it does touch on some real world things.
It does.
I think its depiction of like the social anxiety that Bertie has is particularly well done. So I'm enjoying it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I also like Steven Yeun's in there. He plays the boyfriend. And I love how... so which one's Tuca, which one's Bertie? Because I haven't seen that
Tiffany
much.
Tiffany Haddish, the toucan, is Tuca.
Bertie is technically an Asian bird. Like, I was laughing at the first episode when they're talking about the Sugar Bowl. And it's like, I don't know, that's our traditions. And, like, they just don't say Asian. They say because they're what is she? Is she a bird? So they're both birds,
She's a song thrush. I think he's a robin or something. I
don't know my species like that, but the way that they're able to build the world, I love the fact that the whole thing of it being Tuca and Bertie, again, if we're going through the Endgame, Game of Thrones, Toy Story, I've mentioned some movies that I've seen at South by, as well as Sundance, that so I thought maybe it's just me, because I'm moving on to something else, and then we were looking back, and I was like, no, 2018 had no endings, not 2017, 2019 has Endgame and all these other things. It has
Skywalker later this year.
Skywalker. Even for another one very similar to this, of two female friends. Broad City ended this year.
Yeah.
So seeing this, the story of what happens afterwards, what happens when two friends who have lived together for so long and have been together for so long realize we're on a completely different ends. Did you ever see Someone's Great? The utterly depressing 9-year relationship movie where they break up?
I decided against it for now, but I want to. I've heard it's good.
That's all 2019 is. Either they knew I'm in a new chapter of my life, or just everyone decided to do it in 2019. Or I guess I've been living along the same pathway as Hollywood has been wanting me to. I think that's the most interesting aspect of Tuca and Bertie. Things like, when are you going to take your box? That's okay.
Right.
Leave your box. And I was like, I'm in the midst of seeing if I'm going to leave anything behind. So yeah. Again, I finished, I think, the first episode. I got a little bit into the second one. But
okay, cool.
I figured you would have been very excited because I know that creator BoJack has been pushing it a lot. Maybe a little too much on Twitter. Insulting people who don't like it. But I do think it's a very interesting show. And after a while, I was like, this is very quirky. Then some of the jokes were pretty hitting. It had some of the same type of, like you said, artistic humor where it's like, oh, let me rewind that a little bit. So that was pretty exciting.
I found that I was chuckling at it a lot, and then I would be surprised by like an actual belly laugh. Like
yes.
I thought I was only enjoying it, and then I was really enjoying
and then they hit you with one, out of nowhere, because you're just like, this is kind of a very hipsterish joke. They're really and then they say something that's like, okay, that's downright, that's funny. That's really good. Yeah. My final one, and I'm not going to talk about it now because I'm going to talk about it later. All I'm going to say is this is the best show on Netflix. If they said we'll delay the ending of Game of Thrones to give you season 2 of this, you delay it until next year. I say that, one, because Game of Thrones. 2, because Dead to Me is a show I have seen twice. About to watch it 3 times through already. Just watch it. It is the best. I'll put it to you this way: Who gave the best performance of an actress last year? You know it. Just say it.
Toni Collette.
100%. Those are facts. Yes. You're just speaking the truth. No one's giving a better performance than these two this year, specifically Christina Applegate. That's all I'm going to say.
Wow,
That's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say is that anyone who watched the show after I mentioned it in my live stream, personal friends, right? I was like, hey, just finished the show. They tagged me on Facebook. Like, just saw it in your live stream. I was like, I didn't even know you'll watch my live streams. And other people have tweeted it to me on Twitter. And they said, it's like, yo, he's not lying. The show is great. So far, my recommendation, even if you don't love it as much as I do, it's another searching type of effect where it's like, there's no way you don't appreciate it, but I can guarantee you there's a lot more under the surface. Rewatch it again and you're going to go, they're going for the best acting of the year, movies and or otherwise. You haven't seen it, have you?
I have not seen it yet. I'm very intrigued by it.
Let me tell you something right here. Whenever he recommends something to me, he gets so upset. You just don't listen to me. So then he stops recommending things to me, right? But he was like, oh, you didn't watch Atlanta until later. Oh, what was it? Barry, because I haven't caught up on Barry yet. He gets so upset. But when I say watch Dead to Me, this man takes his sweet time to... I think we're going through a divorce. I think there's a lot of changes happening.
I promise I will get around to... watching We the Animals at some point. As for the things that I've been watching, Tribeca was still going on since the time...
just ended. Yeah, just ended.
Yeah, the time we recorded the last podcast until now. So I was able to catch a couple more movies. One of the movies I caught was Scheme Birds. It sounded like a narrative, and it looks kind of like a narrative, but it's a documentary.
They got you.
It kind of, in that respect, like... And also in the subject matter, echoed Minding the Gap a little for me. This is a story that takes place in like a steel town in Scotland and follows a teenage girl named Gemma. And near the beginning of the movie, she says everyone around here either ends up in prison or knocked up. And you see as many of the people around her end up in prison or knocked up. It's a really beautifully shot and subtly structured story of youth growing into adulthood. So I appreciated that a lot. I like the way that it was put together. I really appreciate a kind of like cinema verite, restrained approach to documentary filmmaking when they don't have overt explanations.
Yeah.
They do a technique in here where there are interviews, but instead of them being talking head interviews, all the audio is played over footage B-roll footage.
I love that.
And it's just much more effective to me.
You said the phrase Minding the Gap, one of your favorite, if I'm not mistaken, favorite movie of last year.
I did. And that was my favorite documentary of last year. This is not on that level. I think it had echoes of it, although it ended up picking up a Best Documentary Award here at Tribeca.
Sick.
So a lot of people were fans of Scheme Birds. It's worth keeping on your radar. Another movie worth keeping on your radar, if only because I feel like it's primed to be remade by an American audience, is a film called Aamis. This is a movie out of India, and it begins as a very restrained romance between a doctor and a student who go out and eat different meat dishes together, and then it becomes a little bit twisted, and to give any more away I think would be unfair, but at the very least I'll say this is primed to be a midnight section movie at Sundance or Toronto or
What's
something
it called?
like that. Aamis. It's Aamis. I think the American title is Ravening. But
this sounds interesting. Ravening, whatever it is.
Yeah, I was
flesh-eating romance.
I was not enjoying it for the first maybe 45 minutes.
And then it goes crazy.
It started to give me Phantom Thread vibes.
Shut up. Hey, shut your face.
Don't get too excited.
Then don't say Phantom Thread. That's like if I were to say the word Whiplash and then someone sees it as like this is nowhere near Whiplash, I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I was just saying those words. No, Phantom Thread Whiplash. Those are like trigger words that you can't just like.
I know, but think about it when you end up catching Aamis, whenever that is available.
Okay.
I'll make sure to keep you aware of it as I hear updates about
Yeah.
the movie.
Interesting.
So those are the things that I saw recently out of Tribeca. Let us know what you've been watching in the comments down below, or emailing us at intercutpod@gmail.com. We move on to Yay or Nay, where we're going to break down the latest happenings in the entertainment industry, starting with the trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home was released on Monday, and it contains massive Endgame spoilers. Despite appearing online just 11 days after the release of Endgame, the new trailer explicitly reveals a major character death. Art, yay or nay, you don't mind that Spider-Man's new trailer assumes you've already seen Endgame?
I don't at all.
Do you think it's fair game? I mean, the director, the Russo brothers, said it's fair game.
So, you know, like if you're looking at grass and someone goes, like, oh, look, it's very blue today. You're just like, you do know your colors, right? Why shouldn't they?
Well, I think the idea is that not everybody has seen Endgame yet, even though it has made oodles and oodles of money.
So that's what I'm getting at. We always hear some people haven't seen it. Like, give me the scenario. And don't get me wrong, I am 100% aware that there are scenarios. But I hate, and you know this too, I don't want to get too political, but when we talk politics style talking, we always come up with the, well, what about this? Is like, wow. So we're talking about like 99% of the population. You're bringing up the 1% variable. I get that there's those variables. There's like people out like in the army who can't see it or whatever. I understand that. Those people are probably also not watching this trailer because they're in the army. I have, we talked about this last week. Some people complaining about like, why is this on Twitter? Now I got to get off Twitter. It's like, well, why haven't you seen the movie? Well, because I have things to do. Then why are you on Twitter? It's one of those things where I just kind of hear, I get the side of people who haven't seen the movie. I don't understand why you haven't seen the movie if it means that much to you. If you didn't care for it, I know those people don't care for it. But there are some people who are like, I can't believe people are talking about spoilers because I haven't seen it. You guys are ridiculous. And all I'm hearing is you want the entirety of the world to stop their energy, fun, entertainment, and for us, work, because you haven't seen the movie? Now,
yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
That is totally, that makes sense to me. I agree with you that I don't really mind that the trailer spoils it, partially because it's not the only trailer out there. They have another trailer.
They have another trailer with no spoilers, and there's a warning that comes out. I guess ours is a little different because anytime someone clicks on an explain video and they go, what, I haven't seen the movie, I'm like, well, that's on you. Like, Twitter's a little bit different when someone just says Iron Man dies.
Autoplays.
But like, for me, it's like you have to purposely click our videos that are telling you that they're spoilers. And at that point, you really are ridiculous. Like, people tell me, well, I haven't seen it yet. I was like, so you have to wait until I don't know when you're going to watch it. But more so, the trailer itself has Tom Holland, Mr. Spoiler himself, coming out saying, if you haven't seen it, just know.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Marvel did a good enough job of warning people between the Russo brothers saying, oh, we're going to open it up to spoilers on 11 days after the release, or it's
but here's where logic needs to come in. Spider-Man died. And there's a movie called Spider-Man Sequel.
Yeah.
There are spoilers in it. I mean, I think you've seen the Portlandia sketch.
That was a complaint back when the first trailers were coming out too. It's like,
Right.
well, I guess we know that he lives in Endgame, as if that was any kind of surprise.
Yeah, there are some things where it's just like, whoa, no. And I was like, what did you expect? Yo, sometimes we do watch rom-coms knowing he's going to get the girl. That does not need to be subverted. What we're coming to see is how he's going to get the girl, how she's going to get the guy. Sometimes it's just like that. Don't be dumb being
if
like...
you care enough that spoilers bother you, you should be able to care enough to avoid the
but-
spoilers. For the most part.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's exceptions to the rule.
There's exceptions.
It did get me thinking about how funny it would be if this trailer did end up playing in front of Endgame. For somebody who hadn't seen it.
Yes, that would be funny. But they also curate those. Like, remember when the trailer for Sausage Party played before a kid's movie?
Yeah. It's
Like,
not
that didn't work
supposed
out
to
well,
happen.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, you remember that Portlandia sketch? And I haven't binged all of Portlandia, but I remember seeing that when they have a specific sketch about spoilers. And they let them know that season 5 of Breaking Bad's coming out, and they get so upset.
Yeah.
They're like, what do you mean? So now I know he survives until season 5. It's like, what do you... Like
Yeah,
they didn't want to know about sequels because then the sequel meant when I got to watch the first movie knowing that they're gonna live. It's like it's not even an action movie; it's a romance. Like why would they? Yeah, but I didn't know. Maybe someone tragically dies, and it's like okay.
You mean there's a Before Midnight?
That's insane. Wait till you hear. Wait till you hear what else is coming out. Like, no, I don't know. I think it's a very interesting thing when it comes to spoilers. I think we touched upon it last week when we had said, I've been in that position where to me, you'll get what I'm talking about. I'll keep it cryptic here. I watch Goodnight Mommy. I see the ending to Goodnight Mommy. And you know the ending to Goodnight Mommy?
Yeah.
I mentioned another movie, Fight Club. All of a sudden, that alone right there, someone has seen one or the other, and now they feel the other movie has been spoiled. So now people can't talk in metaphors. Not like one's a movie from like 98, and the only good reasoning I've heard from that is, one, if you're well over the age, I'm going to use the Sixth Sense rule, which is like, if you haven't seen Sixth Sense by now, you know what Sixth Sense is. You can't use the excuse, I was going to watch it at home, I was going to stop by Redbox and pick. No, it's not the case. But say you're me, sophomore year, high school, you just got the list off IMDb or whatever else, and you're in the midst of watching them, and you're watching the YouTuber who or film critic who inspired you, and then they just spoil Fight Club for you, and it's just like, well, I was just born, like I didn't get that chance. I don't know.
I get your point. To me, and I'll make this last point before we move on. I feel like it's the division between what's the story and what is culture. And at a certain point, a story becomes so big, it's part of culture. I think about the way that the dusting, Thanos dusting, became so like synonymous.
It's pretty big. It's pretty big.
It became like a big thing and like a term. You know,
snap. You can't snap anymore.
You don't have to have seen Infinity War to necessarily
be a part of it.
Have come across things like that.
Bird
you don't
Box.
have to have seen Star Wars to get like Luke, I am your father.
Yep.
There sometimes culture is big enough, and when you talk about Endgame and all the money it made and how big of a movie it is, I think at a certain point, like you have to be aware that it's just pervasive.
Exactly.
Anyway.
I agree with you. That's a perfect ending.
This year's Cannes Film Festival features new films from Jim Jarmusch, Pedro Almodovar, the Dardenne brothers, Xavier Dolan, and more. But in a late announcement, Quentin Tarantino's upcoming Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was added to the competition slate. Art, yay or nay, the latest Tarantino movie is the film you're most excited to hear about from Cannes.
The Dardenne as in the Stranger Things guys?
No, Dardenne as in 2 Days, One Night with Marion Cotillard.
Oh. I forget what the brothers' names are from Stranger Things. Yeah, what was the first one you had mentioned? What were the big ones for you? Because I'm going to give my point as to why I think they're putting Tarantino's at Cannes.
I mean, you know, we're both always curious about a Xavier Dolan movie, so I'm still curious to...
No, I'm done with Xavier. Where's his last movie, bro? I watched it at Tribeca. Everyone said, yo, this is too short. And he's like, well, I had it at 5 hours. I was like, well, you got to work something else with that. And he's like, all right, stop working on your next 2 films before you finish the other one, okay, Xavier? You know he's got one before that one, too, that I don't know where... Stop. Man had Mommy, and he's like, all right, I'm going to make 10 films and then just release them to film festivals nowhere else.
He's a prolific dude. I am a huge Dardenne Brothers fan, although I've heard some mixed things about their new one, even though I don't think anybody's really seen it. But I'll be curious to see what people say about it.
From who? The editor? The editor's like, I don't know about this one.
But the thing is, I think the Jim Jarmusch movie,
without a doubt,
Dead Don't Die? Is that what it's
yes,
called?
I'm going to just put it to you like this. Jim Jarmusch is one of the best directors out there in terms of literally directing behind the scenes. Here's a really quick, and you know this, right? Jim Jarmusch is one of the only directors who owns all of his movies. This man does that Pepsi Dell thing where he tells the people from Dell, hey, give me money because I'm married to Coke's thing. And then they'll be like, oh, I didn't know you were married to Mr. Coke's daughter. And then he goes over to Coke and he tells them, hey, so Dell just gave me a big sponsorship. You got to give me money too. And they're like, well, if Dell trusts you. He does that with countries. He does that with the tax write-off stuff. And he's able to get funding through, like, this man's getting funding from Germany in order for them to get exclusive rights to, like, stream the movie just a week early. And he owns the film. A lot of people don't realize this. You know why directors are always complaining that they don't get their final cut? Why the idea of a director's cut even exists? It's because producers who are giving you the money, they have a say in what the finished product is going to be. You are limited by budget, by everything. Not Jim. I love seeing a Jim movie because even if I'm not the biggest fan of it, he got what he wanted up on screen. The only limitations are himself. He's really cool. And read up on him.
Yeah, and he's a great filmmaker, and he's reuniting with Bill Murray. He's reuniting with Adam Driver.
Poster looks crazy.
It seems like it seems like it could be a hit movie.
It looks like a big blockbuster.
Yeah, it's a weird step for him. But
this is going to be the movie that Jim Jarmusch fans are going to be like, ugh.
Yeah, exactly. He sold out.
He sold out. It's like literally the opposite.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. So I would say maybe that one, but I am excited for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. At least, I'm curious about it. And there's, I don't know if it's the movie that I will like the most or anything this year, but it's definitely something I want to see.
He's trying to get the house that Jack built buzz. I can guarantee you he's got a very violent ending to that. I've told you my theory of it, right?
The Sharon Tate thing?
He's going to Inglourious Bastards it. I'm pretty sure that the same way he did that flip on there, the same way that Django technically is a flip on slavery, he's going to be doing the exact same thing here. I believe the addition
a rewrite of history in a way.
Yeah, the addition of having Bruce Lee and a bunch of the other characters there is that they are going to stop the Sharon Tate murders, Charlie Manson's murders from happening, and they're going to kill him instead. A crazy type of thing like that. It's going to be uber violent. Contrast that to the other movie that I think I've mentioned to you, The Haunting of Sharon Tate, which I just worked on for the Extremely Wicked video. I just worked on that. I hate that movie. That man had no permission whatsoever. But it's going to be really funny considering that that's the route he was going for. And an alternate version where, let's say, she had survived. Horrible execution, horrible everything. But it's going to be very interesting because I'm pretty sure that's what Tarantino's going for. And I think what he's aiming for is Tarantino has never had the internet. You know that, right? What was Tarantino's last movie? Was it not Django? Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Completely overshadowed by episode 7. Only articles I read on Hateful Eight was him complaining about not getting his screens.
Yeah, and also, just the increasing...
Oh, and then Weinstein happened, too.
The increasing policing of movies and of race politics and gender politics is all stuff that doesn't necessarily bode well for Quentin Tarantino. But
it's going to be really interesting. This is the first time we've had the internet as big as it is, and a new Tarantino movie's coming out with something that's a real subject. I think putting it at Cannes. They premiered the Emoji Movie. I don't respect them. The thing with them is that he knows if you want an audience, a film festival audience that's going to overreact in freaking suits and bow ties. Cannes. It's a business move. I think it's genius. I'm all for it.
The trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog landed with a thud as audiences got their first look at a newly redesigned Sonic. The beady-eyed, long-chested, awkwardly toothed new look was met with such intense backlash that the film's director, Jeff Fowler, took to Twitter to respond. Fowler wrote, "The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Hashtag gotta fix fast." Art, yay or nay?
No, you already know it's no.
A Sonic makeover will help the Sonic the Hedgehog movie?
And you know who it hurts. I'm not even going to say it. Who is it hurting, Zach?
Filmmakers?
The animators who are not going to be pushed.
Yeah. That's been the thing. Can you fix fast? These things take time.
They take time. I'm just thinking about the Red Dead Redemption 2 when everyone consensually, from what I know, I can only speak from the reports, consensually overwork themselves. Like, hey, Zach, who's complaining to us when we work super hard in an extra video and they go, wow, don't push yourself? Who push? Because it's on us, right? Red Dead Redemption being a part of an actual company, when people were getting overworked, it was like, wow, they're overworking you. But they were all game. They're like, no. We're going to make a game that's going to be played forever. They were all into it. They were working extra hard because it wasn't so much about meeting a deadline, but giving the best product possible. You really think these animators are over here going like, oh man, Sonic. The Sonic movie? I just want to
make sure that Sonic is properly...
You know what? Keep the check. I'm here to deliver the best. No. I don't know how many people's heart are in it that are animators. Some animators animate to eat. Yeah. And now they're like, hey, you got to get back to the drawing board. I don't know that clause. I don't know, like, as editors, we usually have a thing called corrections. You get a certain amount of corrections, and then you charge more for whatever extra corrections there are. We don't ever really talk about reshoots and how that's in actors' contracts. We never really talk about like editors and animators and graphic artists.
And it seems like in a lot of cases, we don't tend to hear from the animators until after the movie's released. I think about how it came out after Sausage Party was released, that a lot of animators worked extra long hours on that.
Yep.
There were some people who complained about who got credit after the release of The Fantastic Mr. Fox. So I don't know if it's something that we'll find out about until later on down the line, but it is something to maybe keep an eye on. As for me, I don't think it's necessarily going to help the movie, but at least it might keep it from being a complete pariah. I mean, they made like a memeable character, you know? Like the new face of Sonic is
a meme.
Yeah, instead of a film character.
Conspiracy theory?
Shoot.
It's already been done.
They've already... Oh, this is all for hype?
Do you know the lore of Sonic? You've heard the studies about like autism and, you know, I don't want to get like too deep into it and stuff like that because
I have no idea what
some of it is borderline like just hoopla, but there's an idea that Sonic specifically triggers, and I only bring it up only because when I worked at the school, a lot of the kids who were into Sonic were kids with disabilities. It was kids who were mostly on the spectrum because I taught special ed, so just not virtue signaling or anything, as a lot of people always argue when we say something. I'm saying as like someone who was in the field, there's been studies about how Sonic reaches a whole like certain demographic, so they're very on edge when it comes to this character because of like what he represents to them. Kind of like certain animations for kids, right? Like why are they so obsessed with Peppa the Pig? I don't know, but the people who made Peppa the Pig knew what they were doing. That dumb shark song that's got 1 billion views on YouTube. Right. They know what they were doing. There was something that was done there, right?
Yeah.
I personally believe, just like a Starbucks cup we'll be talking about, these things are too big. There's a thing called test audiences. You know what I mean? There's a thing called test audiences, and I purposely feel like they put these things out there because we've learned now. And if you haven't learned, I don't know what to tell you. I've been saying this for a year. Do something negative. Not terrible. Make a flub. Because all your great research, dope. But everyone...
All press is good press?
All good is good press type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you think anyone cares about that Starbucks cup that we're going to talk about in a little bit? Nope. But it helped Starbucks. And it had more attention for the show. Because now people are going to watch the next show more diligently because they want to find the mistakes. Good luck. It was all a plan. I personally think that. We'll get to that one, but I think the Sonic thing is the same thing. They knew they were going to get a huge reaction. They knew the stills. They knew these are editors who are watching this stuff over and over and over, and they're getting paid. So even more over and over and over again. Yeah. I think they've had this set.
Although, you know, sometimes the more you look at a thing, the less you feel like you have a real idea of what it is.
Don't get me wrong. They could be complete and utter idiots too, and they thought that was okay. Yo, he looks like he's CGI and he looks like Jim Carrey in The Grinch. It looks like he's wearing some like you know how they sell clothes at Menards? Like imagine buying your clothes at Menards. Yeah. You know when you put that thing on, that's how it fits, like your onesie from Menards. Mm-hmm. It was not made for a human body. That's what that thing looks like. It is ugly. It's ugly.
Disney unveiled their release calendar for the upcoming films post-acquisition of Fox. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do a rapid-fire Rough Cuts Disney release schedule edition, starting with 3 untitled Star Wars movies slated on the calendar for December 2022, 2024, and 2026. While it's unclear whether these films are part of the Rian Johnson trilogy or the Benioff and Weiss trilogy, or something else entirely, what it does tell us is that following The Rise of Skywalker coming out later this year, Disney will take a 3-year break from putting out Star Wars movies. Art, yay or nay, Disney is smart to wait until 2022 to continue Star Wars.
Yes. And I think it's going to be really interesting to hear all those articles and stuff. We hear about fatigue and all those things. I was like, you're getting 2 years. And 2 years? 1 year. 6 months in our time period right now is a really long break. I don't make a video for a week and people go, where are you? I was like, what are you doing? Some creators don't make stuff for a month. For something as big as Marvel. And again, this all gets offset because we can't forget Disney Plus. My theory is the more that I look at these things here, I'm just looking at 2021. And I get it. The indie ones don't come until the actual time is here. Line. Bob's Burgers? Ugh. What I'm looking at here is that theaters are going to quickly, before we know it, we're going to be sitting here on this podcast talking about how we only go for big budget stuff. If you're doing an independent movie and your ego is so high that you're willing to risk so much money just because you want to see your movie in an AMC. Now, I get it. I know this is so Spielberg talk. But that's Netflix. That, to me, all these things, someone's great. These are not. This is somewhere where Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, HBO is doing a much better job at being able to get your movie to reach more audiences, as opposed to putting. And then Moonlight had the award circuit to go with it. But all these other independent movies who don't get the award circuit, they're wasting money in theaters. And I think that if we were to drop our ego, and don't get me wrong, because I would love to make an independent movie and see it in theaters, but I think in order to see it in theaters, that's where your IFCs and music boxes are going to come in. But more so, I don't think first I thought film festivals were dead. Like the film festivals we've been going through recently, we hear that they're all already picked up and the movies are coming out right away. I think eventually all these independent films are really going to be a place, and film festivals are going to get really big because that's where you're going to want to see these movies that, one, are super special, but you may not be able to see in a theater. You want to catch Roma? You're going to have to go to TIFF or whatever your local film festival is. And I think it'd be an interesting way to market the movies. I think it's really cool, as we followed Greener Grass from all of our different friends. We all saw them at Sundance, and then our boys saw them at Florida. I'm going to see them in Chicago. It's really interesting to follow a movie that way as it hits your city, especially because back in the day, for movies at a film festival, unless you're reading the Tribune for the film section, you have no idea anything about it. But we're all following Cannes right now. And once one of those movies hits a festival near us, like, people are getting to know film festivals way more than people knew. Like, I talk to people who know what Sundance is, and they know nothing about movies. So, that's my little offshoot where it looks from their calendar. They're going to rely on all their big movies being here, and Disney Plus being where you're going to get all those, the Queen of whatever. Remember that African movie with chess?
Right, yeah.
All those Disney stuff is going to go there. That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's what this looks like to me first and foremost. In terms of it being the trilogies, I don't know. I really don't know what to do.
Because we are supposed to be getting The Mandalorian on Disney Plus sooner than 2022, but it won't be a new movie. I think it's smart of Disney to wait a little bit. You can't miss something unless it's gone, right?
True.
And
it's good.
The way they've been putting Star Wars out, it doesn't feel novel. It doesn't feel overdue. And you want people to have a hunger for it. And I just don't know if that hunger is there right now.
Why specifically say it more so for the blockbuster in and of itself? What a lot of people noted was they alternate between Avatar, Disney. They don't double up. Now, they may when we get there. But they're purposely going one Star Wars, 365, Avatar, 365, and then the other one. So it's like they're saving really, really, really big movies for that. I mean, look at it. They have nothing for 23, 24, 25, 26, 27 other than those movies.
Exactly, yeah. Disney also revealed that the James Cameron Avatar sequels would all be pushed back a year, beginning with the release of Avatar 2 on December 17th, 2021, and continuing every other year, like you mentioned, alternating with Star Wars, until Avatar 5 in December 2027. Art, Sam Worthington, who was 33 years old when the original Avatar came out, will be 51 years old by the time this series wraps. Yay or nay, Avatar 5 is a movie that actually will get made.
Zach, will you have kids by 2027?
It's a lot of pressure, man.
I mean, that's a lot of years. Why do you plan so far ahead?
Apparently James Cameron's ready to.
I don't know what video I'm releasing this weekend. What do I know about 2027 Avatar 5? I don't know anything. That is wild, though. That's a crazy fact. But he may die.
I mean,
Zach, there may be an Avatar that brings him back. What are you talking about? Oh, whoa.
Surprised.
Go ahead. Oh, I'm saying he's mad, James. Jimmy's mad. Jimmy is upset right now with what's happening on the box office. You don't think he's going to be doing something? You think he's directing all 5?
I think he's supposed to.
He's crazy. Relax. Transform Michael Bay. Relax.
Yeah.
You do know at some point he's not just gonna be making these Avatar movies as like a story. That's not James Cameron. He's not making he said, let's make Aliens 2 to just like if Alien didn't ruin space for you, I'm obliterate it. If I'll be back. If Terminator
didn't
do it for you, Judgment Day did. Judgment Day. Was he the first to do that also? I think it was like him and Ernest goes to the whatever. The title being an actual, like, not even Terminator 2. It was like Judgment Day. I'm sure there was more before that, but
I'm sure there were plays
but he's
that were like that.
He's the king when it comes to the subtitle. I'm curious to see if one Avatar is going to have subtitles, but I'm curious to see with all these sequels, there's no way he's not going to start doing things as we're seeing now. My theory. Yo, what if Avatar 4 has no actors?
Well,
what if he goes and it's a
they might all be motion captured actors.
No. Just completely. He is. We just talked about the movie, The Congress.
Yeah.
He legitimately has, and that's his feat. He's legitimately able to make an entire movie.
To me, that is one of the interesting challenges ahead for James Cameron, is that in 2009, Avatar was really like cutting edge, visually different, and just iconic in its look. I don't think it feels that way anymore.
That's why he's got to do something different.
Yeah, he's got to evolve the technology, I think, in order to sustain that level of interest. I also just don't know if there's going to be audience interest in 4 more Avatar sequels. I wouldn't be surprised if they released Avatar 2 and then are like, oh, maybe cut it down to...
Oh, Divergent?
Yeah.
When they said, so like Divergent 4, it's going straight to TV, and the whole cast was like, that is not what we signed up for. I'm telling you right now, my man's he's gonna lose it. He's gonna create AI. He's gonna be making a movie, and he's gonna create AI. The man is gonna create Skynet. He doesn't know the power he possesses.
And lastly, Disney removed several Fox Marvel projects from the release calendar, including the Channing Tatum Gambit movie. Yay or nay, Channing Tatum would have been a good addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think he's got the right energy for it.
But that was Fox's.
Yeah, that movie has been in development for so long. I feel like I've been hearing rumors about it for almost 10 years.
Yeah, I remember looking at that original poster that they had with the Fantastic Four, with the X-Men, and with them. He was in it. Not even a still of him had come out yet. But it's just really interesting how they're merging in Fox, considering we just said this before the podcast. New Mutants. I just threw the poster away the other day. I had that thing. It was supposed to come out last year. Getting pushed.
Now coming out in 2020.
April 3rd, 2020. I don't understand that. It's weird to me. But one of the biggest and most interesting things is a lot of the speculation when it comes to Endgame and when it comes to these properties not coming in, when it comes to the multiverse, as we had just mentioned. I'm of the belief that after this whole Thanos arc, the next one is, if it's not that whole spy thing that they keep talking about with Ben Mendelsohn being able to switch faces, which they introduced, it can definitely be the X-Men being the last big thing that they introduce. They've also have said, a lot of people have noted, they have nothing about Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Marvel is keeping a tight lip.
Yeah, nothing about Fantastic Four.
Next Marvel project on the release calendar is set for May 2020.
What's it called?
It's still untitled.
Untitled. That's interesting. That's really interesting. We'll see. We'll see.
So make sure to leave us a question in the YouTube comments or by emailing us, intercutpod@gmail.com, to get it featured on the next show. You can also reach out to us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. Our handle is @intercutpod on all 3, intercutpod. That's short for podcast. Be an inner cutie and send your movie, TV, and entertainment questions our way. We move on to our topic of the week, and for the second week in a row, it's Watching the Throne.
Hey, you know what? It makes sense.
Yeah. This week, we picked up after the long night and saw the show turn its attention south, from the Great War to the Last War, and from the now deceased Night King to the still breathing Cersei Lannister. There were celebrations, drunken marriage proposals, and long-awaited hookups. And then there was strategizing, secret divulging, and the beginnings of a battle, but all anybody wanted to talk about was a plastic cup of coffee.
Yay or nay? Do you like it more than The Long Night?
The episode.
I did. I didn't hate the episode first time I watched it.
Yeah, you know what? I will say yes, because I think some of the things that I love most about Game of Thrones are the kind of quieter moments when in between big moments. I liked the first half of that episode. I thought was very good in the whole people getting together and drinking, the Hound talking to people, and I don't know. The drinking game was great to me. I think that's the classic Thrones, when you bring unexpected characters together and see the way that their personalities clash up against each other. So I really enjoyed the first half of the episode. As it progressed, there were just plot things that bothered me.
Hit him up. Hit him up. What's up?
Yeah, I mean, so, you know...
I'll give you the first one, and you can come up with the next one. Right off
Sure.
the bat, one that I had missed completely. How do you mess up Gendry's name?
Yeah, that was something that a lot of people have been talking about, that they changed Gendry's last name.
He's supposed to be Waters, and they called him Rivers instead. And
Yeah.
see, now again, there is, and because people always have this conversation, what's the difference between a plot hole and like legitimately bad writing? We always say this too. There's a difference between bad writing and then not liking a character, right? Like the actions Daenerys has done so far, I'm looking at it as like, I hate how they wrote her, but it's not really bad writing. It's just I hate that this character has taken this turn. Some would argue it's bad writing. I'm just looking at woman's going through a slump, and a pretty big slump for the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
When it comes to something like the name of an actual character, and it came from his mouth too, that's the part that gets me. Like the guy who would know. Like, Zach, when have you ever said your last name wrong?
I'm always surprised on major shows like this that they don't just have someone in the room who's like a show expert.
Script supervisor?
You'd think that that's her job, but like get Joanna Robinson or somebody in there, like somebody who really knows everything about Thrones, so that you're not accidentally breaking your own show's lore.
Yeah.
For people who aren't necessarily paying attention to things like the switching up of last names, I think where it gets a little bit frustrating is when you have stuff like the hastiness in which they move from Winterfell to King's Landing and get ambushed by this Golden Company army. The attack on Rhaegal,
Right behind a rock, which in the sky you would have seen.
When dragons have been so hard to kill and such a big weapon for 8 seasons of the show, and suddenly they're easily taking down
which
this
is
one.
fine. And I keep saying it's The Walking Dead and the final season of How I Met Your Mother, which of course people go, oh, this is How I Met Your Mother. There's nothing wrong with Rhaegar dying, and the way he died makes sense in terms of Qui-Gon, or what's his name?
Qyburn?
Qyburn. Wrong franchise. He created that thing in season 7, remember?
Big crossbow.
The big crossbow. It's not hard to believe that he's created more, as he said he was going to. They all own one. They made a lot. So it would kill him. Problem here is 25 different things. One, that means he has had time to, one, blueprints, then finding the materials, then making them, testing them, distributing them. Where's Cersei's bump? They're traveling from a place to another place. Like, you get, there's 10 Cloverfield Lane had their nails. You know this, I think, if you've heard it from me. Their nails were grown to a specific length or trimmed to keep up with the continuity under a bunker. 10 Cloverfield Lane. Game of Thrones, you know people are looking at you. That's why when you were saying that thing, it's like, oh, it may not be a big deal to other people, but it's like the people making the show knows what sells. Don't be selling these books with lineage and then go like, well, I don't see why you guys cared about that. You sold shirts with the map.
Right. It's a show where the details are integral to the story, and it seems like they're forgetting a lot of the details. You know, I think people have talked a lot about how both last season and this season of Thrones felt rushed in a lot of ways. And in one of the ways in which it really does feel rushed, I think, is in the shortcuts they take with stuff like Cersei.
Things.
Had you know, they given Cersei a full pregnancy belly, or maybe even had her give birth to this baby, it would have shown that there's been time passing,
or
that these
lying.
things take some time to get to generate. That this whole like, let's get together and destroy the zombie army wasn't just done in one afternoon in ways that just feel inauthentic to the pace of the show that up until this point. You know, so it's stuff like that. And it's stuff like when the ship is sunk or whatever you have you, and everybody from that ship seems to wash up on the same shore, except for Missandei. It's laziness or it's convenience, but it's just not the. it's not the cleverness.
But you're
in
also
which the way the plot
disrespecting
unfolds.
characters.
Yeah.
Because then you're saying Grey Worm. No, I'm not going back to shore. If I'm gonna ship with Alina and we crash, I'm not going back to shore until I have her with me. You are completely and utterly destroying the character of Grey Worm, who swam back to shore without the love of his life.
Yeah. Well, it's like one of those movie tropes that doesn't exist in real life, where you faint and fall out of a crashing ship and you wake up on the shore. Like, I don't think they even, to me, it seems like they didn't even think, oh, I had to journey from the middle of the ocean to shore. They're just skipping that part.
You're just skipping that.
And that, yeah, and that's what really gets me about a lot of this stuff, is they're skipping a lot of the interesting stuff. I would have loved to have seen Sansa and Arya react to Jon telling them the secret, but they're just skipping over some of that stuff. There was a lack of developing the long-awaited Jaime Brienne moments, and they kind of just leave. They kind of break up on a quick note. I want to see more of that relationship develop. Yeah. I don't want it to be just cast aside as a C plot.
And you left her as a blubbering buffoon. Brienne, Sir Brienne of Tarth. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Here's the thing. And I want you to hit him with your theory. Because Zach's got a crazy theory. And we have some other things that I think we'll mention of people who are very highly credited, I would say, who have been saying some stuff, some inside sources that they have that lead to Zach's theory. But I agree with you. I think a lot of stuff have been stripped. I want to give a shout out to Impression Blend, our friend Mariana. She's huge into Game of Thrones. I was going to give her a shout out to Elemi as well. The way she covers the show, and we disagreed with Battle of Winterfell. Mm-hmm. She liked it way more than I did. I'm very curious what she thinks about the new episodes, because she stopped tweeting about them. But if you see her videos, I love how she talks about Game of Thrones. And you have a bunch of these people who talk about Game of Thrones like this. They're like villagers in Game of Thrones. Like, they get so invested, and that's like the best part of when it comes to like hearing about these things. She gave a great criticism about that, what you just said about Jon saying tell them, and then it just cuts. She had compiled for episodes 1 and 2 talking about that's not the first time. Hey, Bran, says Tyrion, let me know. We don't have enough time. I think we do. Cut away. She noted that there's been a lot of that this season. So what I'm talking about is, it's not just the Battle of Winterfell and the big reveal of like Arya killing him. It's everything else that comes into play to it that some people don't realize.
Yeah.
You do realize if you watch season 1 of Game of Thrones, it's so bright. And I'm not making a long night joke. I'm saying, like, it does not look as cinematic at all.
Yeah.
Money and
the show
production gets better.
Yeah, it upped its quality.
Along with that, so do scripts. Along with that, so does the directing and the way things are shot. Part of that is that for the first 6 seasons, and I'm watching them right now. A lot of people like to use that. Oh, well, I tell you to go back to watch. You know, when someone says like, "Get up, that's my chair." No, it's mine. Is your name on it? In fact, it is. If you go back and watch the original first 6, I call them 6. They weren't doing stuff like that. So when Mariana had said that, and she was like, they literally are doing this weird thing where they start a conversation, then cut it. That in its DNA has not been the storytelling of the show of Game of Thrones. Some people haven't realized that, because, you know, some people watch things and they realize, I don't know why I don't like this that much. Let me break it down for you. Have you noticed that the conversations are ending right when they should be beginning? They're ending conversations at climaxes.
Yeah, and that's not something that is traditional on Game of Thrones. I feel like as we go along, and I'm going to reference a show you and I both love, but I'm getting more and more Lost vibes, in the sense that Game of Thrones,
Don't do me like
at
that.
this point, it feels like it's just struggling to bring everything together,
Making it
succinctly.
up along the way.
Yeah, like you when you set up so much stuff and people get so invested in stuff, it just inevitably is not going to resolve in as satisfying as a way as it was brought up.
It's going to be bad. I agree with you, because Lost ended to me at season 5. But yeah, I agree with you. No, and I want you to lead to your theory in this, but I had told you and I had messaged you guys things like Daenerys, or what's her name? Real life? Emilia Clarke. Getting asked, what do you think of your character? Did I send you that video? What do you think about how your character was... last time I saw that, his name was Mark Hamill, talking about The Last Jedi.
Did you see Natalie Emmanuel's
What'd she say?
retweet? So Ava DuVernay tweeted something about, "Oh, you're gonna do the only woman of color on the show like that," and Natalie retweeted it.
I like him. I'm liking the entire cast right now. Did you read the thing about Kit Harington?
No.
He cried when he finally took off everything. He said that he felt bound to this role. He has been this
he
character
seems
for so
done.
long. He looked back at his wedding pictures and all he saw was Jon Snow because he had to keep that same dude. I was like, done. He said he was excited to take it off. He also
Yeah.
might have said something. He said Tyrion, he finished his shooting and then I still had to stay for the rest of the set. I was like, what? He was done with it. Emilia Clarke.
Yeah,
and not like how it
and
went.
I think that's
that
one of the-
retweet. It's crazy, dude.
I think that's one of the things that ultimately is kind of the problem when we get to the last couple of episodes of Game of Thrones, is that the way that the show was laid out, it probably needed another 2 or 3 seasons to resolve everything.
Yes.
But
Yes.
whether it's the exploding budgets or the lack of interest from key players from Benioff and Weiss,
Hand it
to the
off to
cast,
someone else. Okay,
It's
so
too late.
Benny and wife know this 100%. They said in the interview with one of the late night guys, as soon as the show ends, they are leaving. Like right on the last day, they will be gone to an undisclosed location with their entire family, and they're not coming back till it's done. I made the joke, well, it's done at 9:30, but they're not coming back till it's done. AKA, they are fully aware everyone is going to be mad. They are leaving. There are stuff coming out about who's going to be on the Iron Throne that are supposedly official leaks. My friend, it is bad. It is terrible. It is horrendous. And you know that I read up on the leaks for Endgame, and that just made me more hype. Ugh. These, they better not be true.
Yeah.
But they're hiding. Film Crit Hulk. Shout out Film Crit Hulk. I have no idea who that guy is because he just goes by his alias of Film Crit Hulk.
Pseudonym.
Fantastic writer, always writes like 5,000 words. Some would say it's word vomit. I would say it all makes sense by the time you finish reading it. I think he's a fantastic journalist. He somehow says he's got an inside scoop of what's been going on. I shared it to the group chat yesterday. He said if only he could tell you guys the stuff that he knows behind the scenes. I've said too much. He just left everyone like that. Someone makes a guess saying that it has a lot to do with the merger that happened with AT&T. Some of you, this is the first time you're hearing it, but it's not the first time that you've noticed it, because some of you are going to be going, holy smokes, that's right. I keep seeing AT&T whoring out Westworld and Game of Thrones. Yes, I've noticed that too, almost to a disgusting effect. Saying that the merger there is to blame, but also the fact that maybe the big head honcho himself has no idea how it was supposed to end. He wasn't ready for it. And George just told D&D, here's what I'm thinking. Come up with something, and D&D just couldn't. That is not their strong suit. Same way I'll admit it to you. Big fan of Lost. The two writers on that, the two creators there, not JJ, but the other two, I'm blanking on them.
Hughes and Lindelof.
Maybe not the best. Some of y'all seen Prometheus. Some of y'all seen their other stuff. And he retweets that and goes, know that it's that and probably 10 times worse. Zach, what's your theory?
Okay, well, I will preface this by it's just a wild theory that it's not based in reality and that it's
based in Westeros.
Probably not true or illegal. So, but I'll throw it out there anyway.
Throw it out there.
Because why
There's a
not?
cup in Game of Thrones episode 4, so you know.
Benioff and Weiss recently signed that big deal to helm their own Star Wars trilogy, movie trilogy, making the jump from TV. Not just the jump from TV, but like the jump to blockbuster filmmaking.
Yep.
And being given the keys to one of the most sought-after, lucrative franchises.
Given 3 keys.
In entertainment. I'm loosely speculating that part of that agreement was to not try so hard on the last season or 2 of Game of Thrones and maybe diminish HBO's prestige ahead of the launch of Disney Plus. It's convenient. It sounds like a good conspiracy theory to me.
It does.
I don't know.
Hey, let me add to this. So, I think I had said it on the podcast. I had said that the leak for Endgame was very convenient. Remember what I said? I said, I was like, hey, I read an article that literally claimed Disney is so big, they will be leaking fake leaks that are orchestrated by them. I saw the leaks. What did I tell you guys? I said, this feels like the spoiler trailer. You know, sometimes you see a trailer and you're like, I can't believe they spoiled that. Avengers Assemble, Hulk with the thing, everyone like coming back type of thing. I was like, yo, those are like pretty... That sounds like the Star Trek Into Darkness trailer. That sounds like a lot of, superhero trailers that do tend to spoil a lot, but they're like, oh, we promise you there's more. And then people argue, oh, I wish that would have been saved, yada, yada. Spider-Man, for example. I wish you would have saved the multiverse thing for the movie.
Right.
Different things like that. The more that I thought about it, and I said, this does feel like a trailer. So it's almost like they leaked it and pretended to be like, oh my gosh, it's getting leaked to build hype. When I really, after seeing the movie, look back at it, how convenient, Zach, that you have the movie, right? The entirety of the movie, and you cut between four. You conveniently left out Black Widow's death. And I don't know, Zach, maybe the biggest one of them all, Iron Man dying. Are we still saying that Disney didn't leak that? Why would the person who's trying to leak it and hurt Disney not leak the biggest parts of the movie, but instead everything else, which I said would have perfectly been, if it was an HD, a spoiler trailer?
It's a question worth asking.
It is a question worth asking.
Before we wrap up our Game of Thrones talk, though, I do want to talk to you a bit about Episode 5. There have been a lot of people promising that this is going to be a big one, possibly bigger than Episode 3.
More
it's
aggravating.
The penultimate episode. Game of Thrones does have a tradition of having some of its biggest twists happen in the penultimate episode to a season. So what are your expectations going into the last episode, or last two episodes, rather?
Well, I agree with you. I think they're going to go so off the deep end. It's just going to be so crazy. None of it is going to make sense. I have my theories, which I'm going to get to, but maybe you are correct. If HBO tanks, as you were saying, people are not going to watch HBO when the biggest show they have on the platform just horribly fails. Can you think of another show that has tanked this bad? I don't even think The Sopranos, with their surprise ending, just cut to black, did this.
Yeah. I mean, to me, there's no greater dip in quality between Dexter Season 1 and the last season. But
I agree with you. I didn't get that far, but I've heard the same things, that it's just a completely different series. But, I mean...
But this is, you don't want to be on that trajectory. Yeah. And, there have been a lot of...
It would make sense, though. Disney Plus is coming out. It would definitely be in their best interest if HBO wasn't a contender against Disney Plus. But I also feel they don't need that. So I'm just really confused as to why they're making some of these decisions. We do know Cersei's going.
Yeah.
Problem is, I don't feel it's going to be as satisfying. I am okay with that Arya twist. Mm-hmm. I'm upset with her jumping from the half-point line. We all know Cersei's going to die. What I'm upset at is that it's not going to be satisfying. What I'm upset at is that Jon's final big moment is not going to be satisfying. What I'm upset at is that Dany was supposed to be this big revolutionary character who's supposed to make a difference. Do you remember in season 6 when she said, I'm going to break the wheel?
Right.
One season later, you better bow the knee.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just...
You said that.
It's ultimately... I think that when you build up so many different characters and you set up so many different expectations, just thinking about it like this, there is the Valonqar prophecy that a lot of people talk about, which people alternately believe that either Tyrion or Jaime will kill Cersei. So there's a large section of the fan base that will be disappointed if either Tyrion or Cersei doesn't kill, Tyrion or Jaime doesn't kill Cersei. But Cersei is also on Arya's kill list. So there's another section of the fan base that'll be upset if she's not killed by Arya. And then there's that whole myth, that idea that you'll be usurped by a younger, more beautiful queen. So there's people who are wanting Dany to kill her. And I just think when you set up so much, you end up disappointing people because you haven't necessarily honed in on your vision.
Are you blaming George?
I'm not blaming George because I think George has done a pretty good job, or at least in the stuff that I know, I haven't read the books, of explaining why things are there. Either people are lured in by false prophecies, or they believe their own hype because of it. I feel like he has maybe more in mind to give characters a fitting end. But given how little time we have, How
I Met Your Mother,
how 2 episodes are left,
10 years in the finale,
how satisfying.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. What do you hope to see? because I know some things, so I really don't want to say my theories because they might be true, because I read some of what should be spoilers. It's bad. It's bad.
Yeah, I hope that Danny doesn't go full Mad Queen.
I think she does. Do you remember her vision of the thing? I think Drogon destroys everything. I think those are ashes.
And
it's not snow.
And if you're asking me, that's what my prediction. What my prediction is, it would be that. But I think if she would fully snap and fully turn into like her father, that wouldn't be satisfying to me.
All right.
And after all the hype they've built into Danny and all the stuff, all the promise she had, it would just feel wrong.
Do you remember that theory saying that Bran was going to pull another Hodor, but it's going to be with Danny going super crazy? He's trying to stop her, and instead he travels back in time. She's saying burn them all to Drogon. That messes up Aerys. He goes crazy like Hodor, starts saying burn them all. There is an interview. I just want to say this so it's out there just in case it does happen. This isn't a part of the leaks that I've read, but there's a big theory out there. Multiple people have had it, so I'm not claiming it. But Jamie, I forget, Nicola, however you pronounce it, hyphen whatever, yeah. He said on Kimmel, he feels the entire show revolves around the initial push in episode 1, which is what it ends on. Which, if that's the case, I will always bring back my case that it also starts with the Night King and that just went away. But yeah, okay, sure. The ending of the pilot episode, let's forget about the beginning. There's a theory that he's somehow going to go back in time, find a way to avoid that, and that changes the entirety of the show. The time travel aspect coming into play.
Yeah.
Some people
I
have
just don't know if that'd be satisfying.
Some people have said that they have seen how it all ends, and they said there's going to be a lot of endgame comparisons. Those could also be lies. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. What is dead may never die, but there are only 2 episodes left.
Bro, the dawn came. Remember we used to say it's when the dawn when the night comes. That came. It's gone.
Yeah. So we're close to sailing out from
What's the next one? Hey,
here.
what do you think the next one's going to be? Let's talk about that before we wrap up here. What's the next one?
So there is this argument out there that the end of Game of Thrones is like the end of monoculture.
Why?
Or at least TV
who's
monoculture.
saying this? That makes no sense. If anything, I see it becoming bigger. Like, they're saying that about Game of Thrones while Endgame is going on.
Right. I don't see it that way, but I don't know if I see any shows that are currently on TV kind of taking the mantle of Thrones. I don't think it's going to be like Westworld or anything like that. Maybe it's that Game of Thrones prequel. Maybe it's the Lord of the Rings prequel.
Barry?
I don't know.
High maintenance? Can you imagine the lore in high maintenance?
That sounds like a world I want to live in.
Yeah, I can see Looper making 47 videos on high maintenance. Do you remember this character? She was in the taxi. But yeah.
How about you? Any predictions?
I think it's going to be something that we've yet to see. I think a lot of franchises. I said this last week. I'm really banking on independent films. I think once we get rid of that stigma that sequels are bad, no, they can be original properties. And I think you had mentioned one that was perfect. We're so used to it being Iron Man 1, 2, 3. No. Before Sunrise, Before Midnight, all those are incredible films that they even said, no one's going to know, right? Because that's one of the biggest things. No one's going to know that this is a sequel. You know, people had problems knowing Analyze This and Analyze That were sequels.
Right.
I get it. Audiences are dumb, and one of the big things with sequels is the property management. But is that not better? Let's say no one connects it, that the Before Midnights were sequels to each other. Wouldn't you still be pitching it as an original property?
Right.
Right? So aren't you still in this
movies as they kind of work on their own too.
Exactly. So I'm waiting for we don't have to call it universes, but these prolonged emotional stories when independent filmmakers start doing that. I don't think it's bad for there to be a sequel to Get Out or a Moonlight, especially if you're renaming them. And we've gotten that already. Split, Glass, Unbreakable.
Right.
It may not be that quality for these other things, but we're going to look back on that when that big independent movie, when Barry Jenkins makes his cinematic universe. We're not going to call it cinematic universes because there's so much stigma there. We're going to go back and see how like you can name things differently, and it'll be a big impact when those worlds combine. It's just a longer story. That's all it is. It's a 10-hour movie split into different things.
Speaking of Barry Jenkins, he's got that Underground Railroad thing coming out. Actually, just for Amazon, he's got an Underground Railroad show. Okay. And actually just occurred to me, I could see Watchmen the new Watchmen for HBO being a big show.
It
Maybe.
doesn't have the blessing. That's big.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our final segment of the week, the new to see, where we break down what's new in theaters to streaming and VOD, starting with new in theaters, Pokemon Detective Pikachu, everybody's favorite movie. Cinema is officially over. We have Detective Pikachu.
It's over. No more movies after this.
Yeah. Also, The Hustle with Anne Hathaway and Rebel Wilson. I didn't realize this is a Dirty Rotten Scoundrels remake.
Oh, officially.
I think so.
Interesting. I just thought it was the same movie that comes out every year.
Not a lot of hype around this one. Not a lot of marketing push behind it.
Yeah, and even the stuff that you do see, it's like literally you find something else to do while the trailer is going on. It's weird.
Also coming out in theaters, All Is True, Palms, Tolkien, The Biggest Little Farm, My Son, and Charlie Says.
Okay.
Any of those movies jump out to you?
Just token with people saying that, hey, how about we focus on what we do like and not him getting a girl?
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, this guy did something really interesting. Let's focus on all the uninteresting parts about him.
Yep.
I want to see Charlie Says. I think it's a Charles Manson movie. It was at Tribeca, but I missed it.
How many
I'll
Manson
be
movies
looking for
this year,
that.
dude?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. New to streaming on Netflix May 9th, Insidious, a great modern horror film. Then on May 10th, Easy Season 3, the final season of the Joe Swanberg show that you and I love. I'm really excited to get a glimpse back into these people's lives. He's got this really great low-key energy. You and I are big fans of Easy. Mm-hmm. Pose also will be on Netflix the entire first season. I haven't, so I'm looking forward to catching up with it now that it's on Netflix.
Great things.
Same.
That's one of the ones that when you're searching up different top 10s, through line. So,
yeah.
I'm excited.
The Society, a new Netflix original series, and Wine Country, the Amy Poehler directed feature, also make their way to Netflix on the 10th.
Sick.
May 12th, Patriot Act with Hassan Minhaj returns. And then on HBO Go, May 11th, Night School and the live show of My Dad Wrote a Porno. Have you heard about this?
Your dad did what?
This is based on a podcast called My Dad Wrote a Porno. This comedian found a pornographic novel that his father had written like 20-something years ago and does like dramatic readings of it. Now they're getting an HBO special out of it. It's apparently very funny. Okay. On May 12th on HBO Go, as well as HBO, the Season 8, Episode 5 Game of Thrones big night for HBO.
Oh, that's coming out this weekend?
Yeah, it's this weekend.
Oh, this Sunday?
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Whoa, I got to put that on my calendar.
Yeah, just make sure you remember that.
I'm so glad we have
this series. Also, the series finale of Veep.
Never saw Veep.
I've seen episodes here and there, but I've always meant to catch up more with it.
Well, according to the Aamis,
it's the best comedy of all time.
If that's not solidifying that all you need is friends to win awards, I don't know what else does.
Yeah. But between Game of Thrones and Veep will be the show I care about. That's Barry. Mm-hmm. May 12th, What's My Name, Muhammad Ali, a 2-part documentary, also makes its way to HBO. On Hulu, May 12th, the complete second season of Claws, the TNT show about a salon that dabbles in some crime. And then Prime Video on May 10th, the season 3 premiere of Sneaky Pete. On VOD, May 10th, A Haunting at Silver Falls 2.
Done with Haunting.
And The Professor and the Madman. Then on May 14th, Happy Death Day to You, Fighting with My Family, and Apollo 11. 3 movies I know you've seen.
Yep.
Of those, would you recommend any?
So if you're looking for just very beautiful images, not that much talking, more so B-roll of the day, Apollo 11. If you're looking for an actually decent family-friendly film that's pretty lively, Fighting with My Family, what was the first one?
Happy Death Day to You.
It's not as good as the first. Go watch the first one instead. Or Russian Doll.
So that is what's new to see. Art, what is your pick for the week?
That to me is the best series out there. I'm a huge Linda Cardellini fan. This is probably one of her best performances of all time. But Christina Applegate. Zach, just watch the show. Because why do I make explain videos? Because I don't want to talk about a show without spoiling it. I'm going to tell you everything. Watch this show. Watch the first episode up to the end. You're going to love it.
Yeah.
Then binge the entirety of the series. Go, that was crazy. Then watch the whole series again and notice how it is the best acting of 2019.
Very cool. I'm very excited to watch Dead to Me. I think I'll actually get to it this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm hoping you get to a little bit more Tuca and Bertie. That's my pick for the week.
Yeah, I'm going to finish that one.
It's like we were talking about at the top. It's a delightful show. There's rewatch value in all the hidden gags. I just love the show's visuals. Lisa Hanwalt is a very fun artist. So it's a show that you can kind of even watch on mute and enjoy, oddly. But don't watch it on mute. There's a lot of funny jokes in there, too. But that's all for this week's show. You can catch more from me, Zach Shevich, by following me on Twitter at ZShevich or on Instagram and Letterboxd, also at ZShevich. That's Z-S-H-E, V for Vendetta, I-C-H. And check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/multiplex show art. Where can people find more from you?
Right here. Nowhere else. Don't go anywhere else but the Intercut Podcast. Tweeted us at the Intercut Podcast. That's what it is, right? Intercut Pod?
Intercut Pod.
Pod stands
POD, short for podcast.
Pod stands, it's short for podcast. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
We have new episodes here every week, and very soon. Some of you have seen it. This one wasn't, but we have been doing some live streams over on Let Me Explain, which is an extra channel we have on the side. We're live streaming them there because I think it's really cool being able to have that discussion going on, especially when we have new guests. But yeah, you can catch us here on the Intercut Podcast. A lot of bigger things, a lot of bigger segments that we have going on, especially as we start expanding. So follow us.
Yes.
Watch us all here on Intercut.
Yeah, you can listen to every episode of the Intercut Podcast on iTunes, on SoundCloud, on your favorite podcatcher. I like Overcast. And then make sure you're subscribed not just to the audio podcast, but to the video feed as well on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/IntercutPod, where you can watch our bright, smiling faces as we break down the latest in entertainment. Find new episodes of Intercut every week, and please leave a comment, like the video, consider heading over to iTunes to give us a 5-star review, and like our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages. All of them are at IntercutPod to get updates throughout the week from Art, from me, from all of our guests here on the Intercut Podcast. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, Dracarys.
Too soon.